over here since I think it was FreeFall. Anyway, get a look at the pigs, won't you?
I just don't know how yet.
I guess very quickly, I might want to say that my house is a system of organization and that I use basically with everything. I don't. In computers, there's this code that you can use. It used to be a bunch of built things. You build this, and then you put them all together. But some codes make it easier with the way the information is processed. You know, I don't actually have any idea what I'm talking about right now. I haven't looked it up. It was ages ago that I heard it, and only in part. But what I do is put everything inside the computer. And it's not hard. It really does help. I know pretty much where everything is. When it is in its place, that is. But there's some things that don't have places. And this area here is my refugee camp. Pretty much all homeless. No purpose for it necessarily, or if it does have a purpose, it just doesn't have an interactive purpose. It's really hard for me because it's not always evident, and I don't want to get rid of it yet because I still feel it has a place and just haven't found it yet. So that's the current situation. I really don't know that I'm going to get to any of it tonight, because I have some other things that I need to be doing, but I do have a very long time to do that. I'm going to be recording for about, which means it's going to get divided into 8 videos, but I think that the company told me they are allowing longer length videos. But We'll see, I guess. I'll go with that. See, the other thing is, if things are in place, I don't have to think about them. It's only when things are missing that we run into an issue, because we don't remember where they were or where they could be, because they have the idea of purpose. What would I use it for? What have I used it for recently? Why would it be moved? Is it still in that other place? If it exists. This is the lemon. This is grapes. Jet through these grapes. I really like them. Very, very thankful for it. But I got this picture in place just for promenade. But I don't know what this is yet. figure out exactly how to use it. Hands is too big for it.
Hear a crash? She makes the funniest sound. And the only cat I've known to slide. night, after. Cut that out. I want to keep that copyright thingy in place, you know? You can't see it, but I'm playing with a cat. But the ribbon is a useful tool in teaching because it shows the leftover effects. All pathways through air, things falling away, and moving too quickly for it to keep up with. Efficient things. in my instance, we're currently running. God knows. Oh, you know what? She needs more exercise. It used to be the three of us giving her exercise. She used to get tired. Pain set in. Tension wane. Moods, luxury, comfort. Climbing exercises. Giving her cookies with no, you got it. There you go. Hang it up. I'm scared of your tires. Come on. Come on. They want it to mean something to us too. We're just going through the motions. They don't accept it. It's not a thrill. It's not a challenge. We're enticing them because that's what we want. We want them to attack. We want the challenge, the fight, to toy with them that way. And they know that we're appreciating it. They appreciate it too. And then it is playtime. It is enjoy it. She's getting into this. Yeah. Live now. It is a long. It is before. So, make it excellent for yourself, or whatever you use, it's all good. Bring it to life. That's what makes things great anyway, right? Why is the mountain great? Because we're bigger than us. Why are we great? Well, we're bigger than ants. What's the difference? We're alive. We make things great. We're just a rock, and there's other rocks, you know, they think of it for nothing. They're rocks. Too old for all this. Just stop. Lay down. I'll carry you back. No, it's fast enough. I mean, it's horrible that you can't see what's going on. It's like glow in your face. Isn't it? It's like a big hole right in the whole room. There's another dimension. You get cameras and a computer screen. We get a double mirror of that. You get the dimension on each other and static you feel that. Asian sausage. I like looking at that. I always thought there was something down at the end of the hallway in the darkness coming. I would see it sometimes, but I knew that it was still far away. It was never right in front of me, but it could be that beast, that creature that was almost here. I've kind of outgrown that fear, I guess. But there's still something that I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't mean that it is, but I'm just saying there's that feeling. Okay. Check over the cat. This one.
So I'm just sorting out these identities here. We have this French guy. French guy owns his own vineyard. These are manifestations, these are spells to make and insert into my reality, into my world, into multiple worlds. We have a drink here. And it comes from my homeland. Called promenade. And it compares to grape lemonade. And that happen. I'm going to make it real. I want to have a beverage with my essentially made by, produced by, or invented, or something like that, you know. And I want to do this drink. Good food. And then there's this other guy. And he reminded me of the reporter for Caboose and the Engineer newspaper. So I've got these two different bits that I've found. And I've used them, I've moved past them. I don't know if I've incorporated them, or maybe that's what I'm doing now, is that I've captured them on paper where I could work with them and archive them. Because archive stuff is, if it's in the archive, that means it's integrated. That means it's done being worked on, and it is a part of the final code. Or the working code, yes. Not final code, because it's always the work. So it's a part of the working code. Now, that's why it's archived, it's retained. Anything else is wasted. Gone. Landmarks. Clues to the next direction. Clues to the next direction following the map. The map is leading me places to these clues. And then I'm leading like too. Nice. Maybe I'm bringing it to him, or these are my clues to get it home to him, his home. That might be it. Why bring him to there? Well, I could have done it and bring it to him. As a gift. Profound. So check out this one right here. She's getting used to being up high, especially now the big ear is getting bigger, but also because that's what I do. I put her up on my back, and I want her to get used to that. She's getting used to heights for us, because she has this phobia going up and down. She trusts us, so we're working together. It's pretty great.
You okay? Chinese New Year, Monday. It's kind of exciting. First time I've ever really paid attention. Year of the Dragon. Which is great. My house is filled with dragons. This one?
This is the one that I don't want to think about. Be my mirror, what we wish. Ever since I made the vehicle into a robot, there just has not been enough light over here. Gosh, not that much. Consider that correct. Foundation has sports. No, I'm sorry. Not sports. Don't think of it as sports. The beautiful thing is I only just started, so I can start again. We're starting again. Foundation. Athletics. So encouragement to be in the sun, outside, playing, moving, happy, maybe a little competitive. Strength building. It's got books. It's got fiction. It's got fantasy. Based on education and foolhardy, bravery. Fantasy school, but it is education, and it is, they do look up to wisdom. It has tradition. And on the outside, it's packed with beer. It's a utility truck. But it's fun. gives insight to the all. It's what's seen on the outside. Distraction. Or preference, maybe. Pride. A little bit of pride. Not overly so, but supporting the team. Being proud of the team. Inside, there's also spares. It just sounds like a cult. It really does. It just sounds like a cult. It is a cult. I bet all the cults say that. But just because we have robes and hoods, Kool-Aid, we're not a cult. Here's a distraction. This is the stake that I took with me to do vampire elimination with Hebrew Gato in what is now his new home. We won eventually, but we were totally unprepared that night. I took the most attack, I guess. I didn't do well. He came out, I think, unscathed. I like my blood, I would say. You know what it is? It's preparation. You need more than one. You need more. The robes are blank. Some of them are not like so they're more specific. So you have general robes, and you have specific robes. You have fancy dress. You know what? In there might be the key, the complete entire key to an outfit for all occasions. As it should be. Let's go check over here. What I didn't mention before, because I hadn't realized until going into that one, is that there are also children's robes in there. So it shows family. It shows maybe even, well, it appears a cape, not necessarily a robe, but it shows a lifetime. Maybe this is a robe, the first robe you had when you went and started the thing, and then you can see what they're wearing now, or what their last purchase or gift of a role, something like what they grew into. It is circle, balance. Now this one is Renaissance. It is larger than the Renaissance of body. Art and change. I got to see both sides of it. but it shows work. It shows real work. You know, everybody. It's like, what are you good at? What are you doing? Well, I have chickens. Here's chicken. I have this ability to paint. It makes it look like you're looking for the window. That's amazing. So why not do that? Why not make money on that? People enjoy that. Why not just not necessarily make money on that, but be taken care of so that you can enjoy that? Maybe there's something else you do, because there needs to be a different way for you to do things, so you can do that for people as an enjoyment. And that's what I'm talking about, this interconnected, this social organization. Because you have to be able to do what you want, and people need to be taken care of. So that it's not that they're a waste of society, they just want to express themselves and do whatever they want to do. Nobody knows what they want to do, not necessarily not really. Not at first. As you grow up, things change. You might sort it one way or another. I wanted to do a bunch of different things, and I watched them, and they all became a couple of different things, as opposed to how many things that I ran into that I wanted to do. You know, Ghostbusters, other odd jobs that you see on Saturday morning cartoons. But I made them all happen, and I'm refining them now that I realize that's what I've done. Lesson, pay attention. Be in control. Go after what you want, what you like. Explore that until you understand it so well that you can either move on or make it your own. But incorporate it and you change yourself as you brought it into you. In the next chest, in the first part of the middle layer, there's a utility bench. It's a stool, it's a seat, it's a table, it's a cutting board. That's probably a number of other things that I don't use it for too, but has really made it a part of me as a useful device, so it stays in the chest. It shows the importance and the multi-purpose of tools. That's what this next level is. It has, again, kid stuff and what kids use or utilize. It has, I believe, a number of different. It's limited. The entire chain is very limited for this box, but it does show food. You want to be prepared that there's a goblet in there, and I don't know if I have anything else, maybe some salt or anything in there. Something like that. What I'm carrying on that I think maybe a knife is there. I have to give it a look, especially since my next opportunity to make sure that it is balanced is coming up here when the preparations start at the beginning of February. It's like windows. You know how they call them windows for shuttle launches and re-entry, things like that. Well, there's a similar thing with some of the some of the dimensions, some of the time portals, things like that. In Time Bandits, you have your big map. You open that sucker up, and it's just amazing. And then sometimes you get a map like Kung Fu Panda. Another movie with this home. What's this blank thing that I'm looking at? Or reflection. Movie Hook, he has to imagine this food for it to be real. Because he has to believe in his imagination. And he has to believe that his imagination can make things work. It's a very dangerous ability. Don't try it unless you can really hit your fears of Pinocchio.
Kind of looking like each of the boxes has an associated stat. The spiritual Bloom Lantern.
And what you may not be able to see because of the angle is that over here somewhere, behind this orb, what the hell's that orb? There is a multicolored orb. It looks like white, right? But remember, in the light, white is all the colors. They shift. In the gloom, they shift. I'll have to discuss this with Captain Phoenix. Anyway. This one? The spiritual Bloom Lantern. But I'll explain it later. There's the science behind the way it works.
That one. Science.
I'll show you my gold. Do you see the skull and crossbones? Okay. And then the gold. These are lemon drops. Old-fashioned lemon drops. Butterscotches. And this is a Werther's Original Caramel. This is my treasure. It is also poison. It's my poison. It's a special poison. My poison is to kill with kindness and sweetness. So I guess I'm really only an enemy to diabetics. So, with the second box, we put personal property, as in what you value, and it is shallow. That's shallow. Okay. When you grow, there's room to fill it with new things. It may also show how much you indulge. It tells a story. There's science, specimen, and collection. Fire. Which would also be associated with the cooking, the food. Because you have a hot tub. It's kind of like a cauldron, which makes the association to the cauldron. We'll go over the cauldron eventually. It's like the cauldron's extracurricular. It is kind of extracurricular. It's what interests you, what you put yourself into as an enjoyment. You know what? The chest also is about involvement and performance and rehearsal. Delivery and socializing, a sense of work, or a work ethic, or strengthen the work ethic, I guess, to be a part of and dedicated to something. To enjoy what you do, have fun at what you do. And when things are missing, things that you need, they might be temporary things. So, over time, there's little bits of you that changes. There's still room for that. that's the next one. Now this one's a finely crafted box, and so that shows craft to an advanced craft. Refinement. Now, between the second and third boxes, or chests, or trunks, there is a gap. An open air. The breeze actually goes through it. Space and time, because that's what you need to be able to craft something like that. But because it's blank, because there isn't anything there, it's a period of rest for them to, I guess, explore or get to know or experience. That's what it is. Experience the elements, because if you're out there in the open, even though you're still within your structure, it's an outing or it's exposure in a structured environment, which may be profession. Internships and trades, that sort of thing. Because let's say the box. Let's say at this stage the box is made by you. Everything that makes the box needs to be known by you. So you would have spent a lot of time crafting your artistic ability to create a picture like this on the box, and then you've improved your craft over time to be able to depict the picture so well with your carving. You'll have worked with staining and furniture building. You'll have done some metal working, hammer and nail stuff, and then you'll have worked with woods and metals. Yeah, this is nature and industry. Getting to know the materials that we use to make our world, and to work with them and get to know them. To say that you not only made the box, but know everything about how you made the box. Which is kind of why it's important for me to do all the stuff I'm doing the way I'm doing. Because I know exactly, know every step you make, and why you made it. Maybe not everything, but I know a lot of them. Down with pedometers. Count your own damn steps. Pay attention to your wall. I wonder if I could write that up with something. Stop counting, it's never enough. Finally, we have, oh, you know what, I didn't go into in the boxes books. Relationship with nature books, essentially, through spirituality. Bagheera, so it's topped. I'll have to go through that. I don't know why I didn't open it. Because that's all other people's work. I need to make it mine. The whole thing's a representative of that. So the top is the display. And on it is the representation of you in the real world. That is you. This is what you are now and what you're showing to people. It is a positive and end result type of thing. You've reached a certain level of foundation in who you are, solid and glamorous and wonderful. And on the top is a story as well. It shows what you're a part of. It shows that, hey, this is where I was when I started. This is where I am now. It shows where you're going. You know, what you should be thinking about is family and friends. The next step in the life cycle. All in a well-balanced and nurturing kind of way. The sword is for defense. It's also an aesthetic. The sword is supposed to be crafted by you, which is a whole other advanced field. Again, woodworking and metal. But there's cord wrapped around it, which isn't necessarily do something broken. It depends on what you do with the sword, how ornate it is, how much craft do you put into the defense, well, the defensive weapon, you know. It's like, how showy are you with, maybe that's what it is. The prettier weapon, the more it is for offense than defense. Or the more it is for necessity. Maybe that's the thing about all of the culture, the luxury, the aesthetic, building the aesthetic. The more aesthetic there is, the less functionality. Oh, well, everybody knew that already. I came to it from a different direction and didn't recognize it from that direction. Dinosaurs on the ground. Okay. Now, as they are boxes and chests and such, they have these straps on the side. And I still need to put stuff into that space between the second and third boxes or chests. So, again, wood and metal craft. And then we had an umbrella. Looks like there's some lag here. This is what could be a walking stick for a very short person, like my child. It's your personal staff. This is an actual walking stick. It came. But a finely crafted cane. And then this is my vampire stick, or a stick. It's a spear. We have a spear, we have an axe, we have a club, we have a cane, and we have an umbrella. So support, shelter, an axe, a spear, they're tools. And then the club, but not necessarily club, because it could, like I said, a walking stick. It's a utility. So you have, they're all utility staffs. But the umbrella has a meaning in that it's for weather or for shelter. The cane has a purpose for the elderly, as it has been crafted, which takes time to make. Time, the representation in age, journey, whatever. Here's craft, and it's crude because it's a utility. But you are starting to display yourself through your craft. Now the two differences is that one is offense and one is defense. You have the club for defense, and you have the spear for offense. And so that's, I keep thinking spear hunter gatherer. The spear is an attack tool. It can be used in defense, but that point at the end raises the stakes. Why do you attack? We'll put it out differently. The club, which is a utility, but would be for defense, in that it is primarily for, or primarily a tool for you, doing any number of things. You could go fishing with this, catch snakes, gophers with this. You need longer rope than I have, but totally not crap. Oh wait. Strange. Shoot. Tradition starts at the bottom, but as you go higher in the boxes, your need for the stuff on the bottom is reduced, or your reliance, or your actual use of. Because it's bigger. There's a lot there. But you don't need that as you get older. The sword is a display. But it's not locked down. It's open so that you might pick it up and leave at any time. Provided you have maybe the bag packed and ready to go. That you even have a stand for your sword means you're doing pretty well, because you can rest your sword somewhere that is not on your body. But that it isn't a display. It says that you go out very little. Because it's a type of preparation. Going into the wild, you need a utility, sword. Make your way through the jungle, hacking at plants and stuff. Now, that's pretty big game. I know what you mean. Why don't you need a sword? Oh, to make stuff out of like bamboo. And then when you can make a stand of bamboo or whatever, then you can hang your tool up. Your home. That's why I love my place, because I take it with me everywhere I go. It's a lot of it. This resting in that in-between area, and that is a handcrafted umbrella. Building your shelter. And my role, crafts. Spiritual crafts.
in the open air spot. A journal. Folklore. Morals, stories, guidance, the Bible, something to keep you company. A guide, and history, or chronicle, an archive. So, where you came from, what to watch out for, how to live off the land. Morals, entertainment, all of it in one. And then your personal journal, continuum. Set the ball on it. Then you should always have time to play. There's play or prize, level of competition, achieving a goal, striving for something. On the outside, the second box. And a train ticket to someplace far away.
here. So this chair over here. Right here. It shows us the safari. It shows the colors. It shows the comfort. Right-handed. The one utility is in the defensive position, or I don't know. There's a whole thing about defense and attack and offensive. Display, offhand, primary hand. But this is where you rest. And it's comprised of you, you know, you said, if you have repellent, you know, where they come from. What are the stories behind these things? These are what we set out to make ourselves in our lives, to be what we carry to our homes in the end. Or wherever they that are a part of us. Home is the place you can collect things. We collect things as a way of recording history, our own history. That's important. Nice junk you got, look. Nice junk indeed.
picture of home.
Sort of.
Who was that? Yes, it is. What's up? What's happening? What's going on? What? What's up?
Alright, now to sum up what I've done. Gone online, looked for a picture, found a picture, downloaded the picture, and I am now going to print that picture. Which picture? This one and this one. I'm going to print. And they need to be bound. That big, I suppose. Smaller works. Then we'll check on sizes. Conservation of paper, that might even work better. Wait, I have a better idea. Click. Issue resolved. Closing that. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Countdown. 10 minutes. So as you can see, in 2 hours time, I have accomplished very little. I got one article of clothing put away. However, if you consider this video being productive, then I got a lot done, didn't I? And I told some story in it, and I also told some of the structure of the temple. It's really just Academy, which is the forest. It's pretty cool. Multi-dimensional stuff. I love you. You want some?
I don't think she wants me messing with her paper pad.
Let me see where this. Found this picture the other day and threw it away, but it was a picture of the demon panther thing. It was horrible. I jokingly I said it was big air. Look how she's over there guarding the entry to the forest. Cool, huh? Good night, everyone.